Guys, so welcome back to the channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking when you saw this video. So in today's video, we're talking about a particular woman whom Kenyans are out for right now, and they're asking her to be recalled back to her country, and her name is Meg Whitman. She is the American ambassador to Kenya. So according to Kenyans, they are saying that she's the reason why IMF came back to Kenya, and she's also the one that introduced Ruto to IMF, okay, and that the reason why he keeps borrowing money and all of those things. So as according for Ruto's resignation, they are also calling that the woman should go back to her country and stop interfering in the affairs of Kenya. So a lot of Kenyans have made a lot of points online, and today we're just going to react to some videos that is already online that people have published, especially Kenyans has published, and they are saying they want this woman be recalled back to her country. So let's go watch this video and return back to react more. Okay, so in case you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Princess. Do well to like this video and also subscribe to the channel.
This is for entertainment purposes only, family. Kenyans are now calling for the immediate recall and resignation and return to the divided states of Meg Whitman. Fingers are being pointed at her as the reason why Kenya is in this financial mess to begin with. Because she's even the one who actually made Biden take such a risky risk. That doesn't even make sense. On Nabi family. She's the reason that the IMF and the World Bank even came back to Kenya. And there's a show that I released, Jana, from this guy, this analyst, who was saying that whenever the IMF comes into a country, they're not giving you a loan so you can pay back so at the end with a clean heart. They're giving you a loan. They never want that money back because they're the front for these multinational corporations, and we already know the world is being run by a multinational corporation. So he was saying we should check the Coca-Colas and the HPs of this world. Well, guess what? Maggie Dearest used to actually be like, I think, the head of Hewlett Packard, and she's a dollar billionaire. So you think her being in Kenya was really about us, or was it to further the agenda of the Mzungus in Kenya? So guys are just saying, without her, we'd not be in these problems. We'd not be in this crazy debt burden. And don't forget, last year, Mandamano, she was heavily interfering. And there's even a clip that I'll share at the end of this, where Baba, and I know he's not very popular right now, where Baba was saying, yo, stay out of Kenya. Kenya is not a US colony. Kenya is not part of the United States. We're not a US company. So keep your fingers, dirty hands off. And now Kenyans are like, yo, she needs to go. I think she was already airlifted out. I don't know if she ever came back. And the funny thing is, after all this, ever since the cabinet was fired, now all of a sudden, the divided states is issuing advisories to, I don't know if it was to their citizens or to the general or to the world or whatever, about Gen Z demonstrations in Kenya. Maggie's the problem. She needs to go. And you know what, family? I knew the rubber was hitting the road when she stood in the middle of the red carpet and Nabi held her umbrella. I'll add that to the end of this video as well. I think she got carried away, yo. I think she got carried away. She was like, oh my God, I think neocolonialism just got to her head. But yo, it's time for her to get recalled.
Finally, you want to tell a rogue ambassador, leave Kenyans alone. If Mandamano can lead to a dialogue between Ichungwa and Kalonzo, everything is good with Mandamano. Tell the rogue ambassador, Kenya is not United States. Kenya is not a colony of the United States. Keep your mouth shut when you're here. Otherwise, you will call for your recall back to your country. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, a particular video I'm going to share very soon, okay? This man was talking about how the IMF come into a particular country and they offer help. If you don't know what IMF is, that's the International Monetary Funds. Okay, they come in, especially in Africa. They are everywhere in Africa, mostly everywhere in Africa. So they lend Africans money, and you think that they're actually doing you good, or it's actually from their own mind or their heart of hearts, right? And they're doing it just to save your country from a particular thing, okay, not knowing that they have ulterior motives, okay, because they want to control the economy of the country, okay, knowing fully well that these people they're handing the money over to, they're not even responsible enough to utilize this money for whatever thing they want to use this for. So they know very well that these people, that's the leaders they're handing the money to, they don't want to use this money for anything. They are very, very smart. These people are smart, they know, and they are million corporations all over the world who come together, bring out their money, and also come to IMF and lend a country money, just the same way countries around Africa was lending money from China. Now IMF is like a corporation that they now lend money from, okay, but these people give you money, you think that they're giving you this money for free, or because they want it back, or because they have love for your country. There's actually no love, okay. That's what Kenyans are saying, that you guys don't love us, okay. So they're asking this woman to leave the country and go back to her country. They do not want IMF, they do not want Ruto, and they do not want Meg Whitman. So let's go ahead and watch the next video, then I'll come back and we'll react.
Western client, if not a puppet. And that's not without reason. He has regularly ingratiated himself with the West. He has been pursuing neoliberal economic policies within Kenya that have made the lives of the people increasingly miserable. And so this has resulted, predictably, in protests that began peacefully and turned violent because of the police. The police shot at peaceful protesters. Now, they're calling for the removal of the president of Kenya, William Ruto. Now, what I would say about that situation is that it's similar to the situation before it in Sudan, and it's similar to the situation before Sudan in Egypt, where the people are protesting against the government for policies that the government is implementing, which the government is held hostage to implement in favor of multinational corporations and international lenders, chief among them the International Monetary Fund. In fact, the bill that stirred the protests in Kenya initially is basically an IMF bill, a structural adjustment reform, an austerity measure that is being demanded by the IMF of the Ruto government. So my opinion, as was my opinion with regards to Sudan, when Omar Bashir was being blamed for the economic policies that were the austerity measures, the austerity economic policies, the neoliberal policies that he was implementing under coercion in Sudan, and the protests against Sisi because of the neoliberal policies that he was implementing under coercion, my position has always been that these leaders, these politicians, exist to take the blame for the policies that they're implementing on behalf of private sector power. That's why they exist. That's why I call them effigies, because they exist to implement the policies that will make them unpopular, and then they'll take the brunt of the unpopularity. They'll take the brunt of public anger, and then they'll be removed, but the policies will remain, because the source of the policies is the private sector, is the international private sector. It's the OCGFC. It's the Western multinational corporations and lenders, financial institutions, and so forth. Again, specifically, the International Monetary Fund. This is your problem. And now, who is the International Monetary Fund doing what it's doing? Who is it doing it for? It's not doing it for Kenya. We all know that. And it wasn't doing it for Sudan, and it's not doing it for Egypt. So who are they doing it for? And when you identify who they're doing it for, then those are the private sector players, those are the power brokers that it makes more sense to me that the population should be protesting. and should be directing their activism and their opposition towards those actors on the political and economic scene in Kenya, not the government. Now, I'm not speaking up in favor of William Ruto. There's a lot of problems with his government, certainly, without question, just as there were problems with the government of Omar Bashir, and there's certainly a multitude of problems with the government of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. But when you're talking about specifically the way that they're managing the economy, you have to understand that they are not the managers of the economy. Their lenders are the managers of the economy, and the lenders are managing the economy in such a way as to benefit Western multinational corporations. So, for example, in Kenya, you should look at Coca-Cola. You should look at General Electric. You should look at Standard Chartered. You should look at Barclays Bank. Look at Safaricom, Nestle, IBM, and look at Toyota. These are the beneficiaries of the economic policies. These are the beneficiaries of neoliberalism. They're the ones who are holding the government hostage. And they're doing it by means of the IMF. So your president, and again, whether it's Kenya or whether it's Sudan or whether it's Egypt or whether it's Pakistan and many other places around the world, and increasingly you can say the same thing about countries in Europe, these governments, these politicians, are hostages, and the policies that they're implementing are essentially like when you see a hostage being forced to read a list of demands. You don't get angry at the hostage for the demands that he's making on behalf of the hostage taker, and that's what the government does. That's what your president does. That's what your prime minister is doing. They're just reading the list of demands that they have been told that they that must be met in order for them to not be eliminated. And the one that's going to be eliminated here isn't the president, it's your whole economy. Because the IMF has considerable power to sabotage and cripple your economy if you don't do what they say. That's why it's better for you if you never get involved with them in the first place. And this is why I've said time and time again that it's much better for Muslim countries, for countries in the global south, for countries in Africa, to do business with China, to do business with Russia, while they still can, while those countries are still interested in investing in Africa, in the global south, Latin America, and the Muslim world, and so on, while they still have the money to spend, you ought to take the money from them rather than taking the money from the IMF. Because the IMF and Western lenders generally are not actually interested in you paying them back. They don't want you to pay them back. Because when they loan you money, they're calling it a loan, and you think it's a loan, but what they're actually doing is buying you. So they don't want the money back. They want what they bought.
When these people gives you money, right, they are not expecting it back, and they just want to creep into your economy. And you can hear him mention corporations like Coca-Cola, like Safaricom and the likes, okay? And you all know that Safaricom is currently in Kenya, and some Kenyan youths are saying that Safaricom should go and it's time to go. Some of them are actually angry with Safaricom because at the time of this whole protesting, Safaricom was releasing their information, their database to the police, okay, and they were able to come arrest them in their residence and all of that. So they're really very angry with Safaricom. If you are here and you say, we are your clients, we are your customers, why don't you protect our information? Instead, they gave it out according to them. So this man is telling Kenyans not to fight that. For him, he's thinking that they should not fight the government directly, who is like a hostage to these IMF people, okay, because he is only issuing out orders that these people have asked him to do, because they are holding him at ransom right now, and he has to issue out their orders, because this is what he has signed for when he was collecting these loans from them, okay. Even the finance bill also has something to do with the IMF, because it was the IMF bill or something like that, according to what he said in that video. So he's saying, instead of directing your anger to the Western or the IMF hostage, okay, who happen to be the leader, why don't you direct your anger and everything to the people that are actually using this particular person? And that's why most Kenyans are now out and telling the Meggy to go back to her country, and they don't want IMF, okay, as well as possible. They also do not want Ruto. I also saw that there is also a fresh protest on the street of Nairobi in Kitenge. I hope I got that correctly. And there is also some happening like in Mombasa and all of that. People are still on the street saying Ruto must go, okay, and IMF as well, and every other thing in between must go. Even though Ruto has also dissolved his cabinet, they still do not want, or they do not care. They just want him to resign and let somebody else take the bathing. Okay, so yeah, this is exactly what this whole video is all about. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Do you think this makes a lot of sense? Do you think that the IMF should leave Kenya? And do you also think that Meg Whitman should also leave Kenya and go back to her country? What do you think? Okay, let me know in the comment section of let me know in the comment section what your ideas or your contributions are concerning this particular topic or this episode that we have today. I'll be here to read from you all. Please, if you have not liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel. Okay, see you guys on my next video. Bye.